Sharon George. She's a senior lecturer in environmental science at Keele University and joins us now from Staffordshire in the UK. Sharon George, I'm not going to ask you what we're going to do to save the planet, but I will ask you, what do you think needs to be done to convince policymakers that they really need to start taking action now?
Well, I think one of the problems has been this delay. Whichever solution any government goes for is going to be unpopular with a certain sector. So there are going to be costs, it is going to be expensive, but we're all in this together and we've run out of options now. People are being affected. We are seeing climate change refugees. We're seeing changes in weather patterns and storm surges. We're seeing rising sea levels. 1 in 10 people live in low-lying cities that are potentially at risk. So we've kind of run out of time now. So I think the message to leaders has to be to take the courage to have to do the right things, to really push things quicker and meet the urgency that we need to address this really serious problem.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying that people seem to be moving so slowly. And I wonder if it's something to do with kind of political messaging. There's a lot of the rhetoric around this is about the loss of jobs. I mean, you mentioned it there. Don't we need to start talking about the jobs that will be created by changing to a no-carbon future?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the easiest ways that you can sort of meet energy needs and address carbon is using things like electric vehicles, and they are not as widespread and the infrastructures are not there as much as we have with traditional energy and petrol stations and gas stations. So there's massive opportunity there for companies to diversify and to meet the needs of this growing new demand in all sorts of sectors. From that perspective, it's an opportunity for diversification, but that in itself is not an easy thing, and that's something that governments need to underpin with funding and providing that condition that enables companies to do that and to move jobs from fossil fuel industries to this new sector.
What optimism do you take, Sharon, from hearing the rhetoric coming out of some governments? Joe Biden's obviously said that it's like the key part of his policy for the next 4 years. We've even heard China saying that they want to sort of decarbonise in the next 20 or so years. Britain has a very sort of strict policy that it's putting in place before 2030. All good words. Do they give you optimism?
The words give me optimism. I'd feel a lot more optimistic if I saw the action behind it. There's been massive strides in green energy production, but at the same time, we're still seeing coal plants being developed, and we're still seeing the use of fossil fuels being supported and, in a lot of cases, subsidised. So those subsidies need to stop. I think right now, like no other time in history, the population is behind this. We know the cost of this. We know there has to be change. And so our leaders need the courage to make those infrastructural changes that we need and to underpin this massive innovation that we need.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It is a singular time in history. And if in some aspects the benefits of coming out of this pandemic has shown that the world can slow down, we can stop polluting our atmosphere. We saw how weather systems change, but this kind of strange weather that we're seeing around the world at the moment, it's very hot in Istanbul right now. I know it's very cold in the UK. The argument has been won, hasn't it? We are the ones who are polluting the planet. I don't think there is much in the way of climate denial anymore, do you?
No, there's the data is there. We've known that climate change is happening now for decades. But there's been that uncertainty about how much we can link one event to climate change, and that's always been, the hook that climate change deniers have kind of hung on to. But the frequency of these massive events and natural disasters around storms and floods and fires, record after record being broken. But the evidence is now clearer than ever. We are definitely responsible for climate change, and it's in our power to put this right. But there is going to be a cost.
Let's hope those in charge do try and put it right. Okay, Sharon George from Keele University, thanks for being with us.